So before I left on the mission, I had been diagnosed with depression, and I was on medication for it. But I had never been diagnosed with anxiety, had no idea how to cope with it, had no idea what it looked like or how it kind of, I guess, how it worked with me, like how it showed up in my behavior or whatever. And so I got to the MTC, and I was still like, everything leading up to the MTC, I was just excited, and I was ready, and at least I thought I was ready. And getting to the MTC, I think I started to feel that anxiety start to come. And I didn't know that it was anxiety, but I think I started to feel it a little bit. And then I remember I got to the mission home in Cincinnati, and that first day we all had a short little interview with our mission president. And my mission president asked me, he said, "Sister Gruenwald, what goals do you have for your mission?" And I think a lot of missionaries would say, "Oh, I want to learn how to work hard," or "I want to learn how to have a stronger relationship with the Lord," or "I want to have 20 baptisms." But I based on kind of like my time in the MTC and just, my personality, I knew that a mission was going to be hard for me. And so I just looked at my mission president, and I think I was probably crying. And I said, "I want to stay, and I want to finish." And because that really was my biggest goal. Because when God said go, I was like, 18 months, they're yours. And so that was really my biggest goal. I mean, I hadn't really thought about, other things, but I just thought, if I can make it to the end, if I can endure to the end, I'll be so happy. I don't care how many baptisms or, how many, I don't know, like I just wanted to get to the end. I wanted to serve the Lord for 18 months, and that was kind of my goal. And, but I knew it was going to be hard just based on, what was going on in my head. I knew there was something going on, and there was something that wasn't right, and I had no idea what it was. And kind of looking back now, I can see what it was. I can see it was anxiety and depression, and you get those two together, and it's really hard. But I remember the first day, got put with my trainer, and I had an incredible first day as a missionary. I was still kind of riding that, like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, I'm a missionary now. And then the second day, it really kind of started to sink in, like, I'm going to be doing this for 18 months. And I started to kind of get overwhelmed, and I didn't know how to calm down. I didn't know how to I guess, like, self-soothe. And so I just started getting really overwhelmed, and my thoughts would go like a million miles an hour. And I would just kind of like, catastrophize things. And I remember after that first day, or after that second day, that night, I like called my mission president, and I was just kind of like breathing really fast, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I have to go home. And the thing is, I feel like there are so many times that I said, like, I can't do this, I have to go home, but that wasn't me. And I feel like that part of my brain that was like broken or whatever, I think that part, kind of took over whenever I would get into those kind of situations. And I would be okay for, a week or two, but after a certain amount of time, I kind of hit this wall. Because I had this fight going on in my head every single day, and it was hard. It was hard to function and to work hard and do missionary work with that going on in my head 24/7. I think like my thought process kind of throughout the day would go something like, we'd be walking down the street, there's someone, you're supposed to go and approach them, and I would think, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go approach them, which is totally a normal thing to think as a missionary. I'm sure every missionary has felt that way at some point. But I would have that thought of, I don't want to go talk to that person. And then it would turn into, oh, well, if I don't go talk to that person, then I'm a disobedient missionary. And President doesn't like disobedient missionaries. And, and I would start to compare, like, oh, look at your trainer. She has no problem with it. Why can't you be like your trainer? And, or this, other missionary, they're, only the best missionaries, go and talk to everyone and they're not afraid. And why can't you be like that? Why can't you be better? Why can't you just, work hard and not worry about it, if it's awkward or scary, and just get over yourself and go to work. And it was hard because I was scared and I didn't know how to kind of talk back to that voice. And I feel like, every day there was like Satan in my head saying, you can't do this. And, you don't have what it takes. You should just go home. You should just quit. And then there was that voice in my head of, I guess, like anxiety saying, like, if you don't do this, then you're this, that, and the other. If you don't do it, you're a failure. And, just, I guess, like trying to motivate me to work, but not in the best way, in a way that made me happy. And then I feel like, my heart was trying to like get a word in, like saying, like, I really want to do this. I really want to work hard. I love the Lord and I want to give everything I have. But those two voices in my head just kind of going back and forth all day, it was really hard to function. And it would get to the point where I would become, just drained, completely drained, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, just having that going on in my head constantly and trying so hard to fight through it. And I, would just... There were mornings I didn't want to get out of bed because I didn't want to go and have to fight with my head to work hard and to find people and to teach. And so I feel like every couple of weeks I would just hit that wall, and I would kind of back myself into this corner. My thoughts would kind of spiral down so fast. I would back myself into this corner of, well, I can't keep going. I can't move. I can't breathe. I was just drained and it was debilitating. And I was like, so I can't keep going, but I can't go home. In my heart, I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay and I wanted to finish. And I would back myself into this corner. I can't stay. I can't go home. I don't want to go home. Well, the only option here, is to go home, like heaven home. And so it got to the point where I use the phrase really loosely, but I attempted to take my life at one point. And the thing is, I didn't want to die. I didn't want, to put anyone through that. But it just, in that moment, that part of my brain took over and it seemed like the only option. And there were times where it happened where I'd hit that wall and kind of back myself into that corner and I would hurt myself. And, I look back and it seems, I'm embarrassed that I did those things to myself. But it just, when you're in that, in that moment, it's the only thing that makes sense. And like I said, I had no idea how to cope with anxiety before. And I had no idea what it looked like. And I feel like I dealt with it the best I could, and it wasn't healthy and it wasn't right. And, but I knew that my heart was in the right place, but that my brain just wasn't on board and willing to work with me. And so that was kind of the struggle every single day. And that's not, it's not that every single day was that bad. There were days that were incredible. There were days where I was really functioning really well, that I was able to push past all that fear and, the awkward and the embarrassing. Like, I was able to push through it. And I was meeting with a counselor while I was out there, and that helped a lot too. And so there were days and there were weeks that were really good, and that I had really incredible experiences. And but I think in those good times, I was still fighting that battle in my head, but I was winning. And then there would come, after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, I would start to get tired of fighting and just kind of like almost give up and just kind of let it win. And so, I think that's the main thing that got me sent home, is I just didn't know how to control that, how to self-soothe and relax. In the mission field, you're kind of forced to confront things head on. There's no kind of taking a break and doing something, that's just distracts you. It's like work, work, work. And especially in our mission, I remember being on the phone with my mission president, and he's like, in this mission, we work. And the thing is, I wanted to work. In my heart, I wanted to work hard. I wanted to do all the missionary things. I wanted to give everything that I had. And, but it's hard to serve with all your heart, mind, and strength when your mind's not really on board. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened that kind of got me sent home.